Hey folks, welcome back to our afternoon draft. Hunter from Steve Jackson Games here, live from Retailer Appreciation Day. Once again, you'll probably hear a lot of noise in the background because it's still going strong. We're here in the afternoon and there's still a lot of games happening all over the place. You'll hear that as a box being dropped on my table. As always, people will be bugging me throughout the stream, so you'll hear my audio cut out. But I'm going to go ahead and send it over to the draft itself. So right now we're doing a Munchkin Collectible card game draft with a bunch of new players. We will be answering questions in the chat. If you watched this morning's stream, you'll know what's going on here. If you haven't before, though, just to explain, a draft is picking different boosters. You have 4 different boosters. Obviously, these are simulated boosters. They're not real product yet. They're just in Ziploc bags. But they're in the first pack. They're in the first booster pack. You open the pack, you take a card, and then you pass it. Excuse me. You do all of them like that. You take a card, you pass it, and they just keep passing around the table until that booster pack is done. And then you do the same thing with the next one, so on and so forth, until all the cards are in people's hands. And then from there, you build a deck. Normally, the Munchkin Collectible card game is built around one hero. You pick a hero class, say like a warrior or a ranger, and you build if you pick the warrior, you can build with warrior cards and neutral cards. But in this case, since this is a draft, it is free for all. You're using the Goldfish Wanderer card, and you can use cards from any faction in your deck. And it's only a 30-card deck versus a 40-card deck. So there are some slight differences just to take note of there. Other than that, the rules are all the same. It's still trying to get your life total from 20 to 0. You're hiring monsters to attack your opponent to do that. You can play loot like armor and weapons to defend yourself. All the normal rules other than that apply, but that deck building is a bit different for this. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those in the comment section. I've linked a few things that I found important in our description if you want to check out some previous walkthroughs or our new website. If you hear my mic go silent, that is just me muting it because someone's walking over or someone's playing Super Kitty Bug Slap real close by, so let's wait till that round's over. Thank you, J. Scott Pittman. You rock. Marty, awesome to know that you pre-ordered. For those of you that are interested, February 2018 is the release, and our pre-order form link is in the description of this video. You can check that out, print it out, give it to your local game store, and they can get an order in for you. I'm going to update the description real quick with another couple more links for us. So we'll do this. same as given some general strategy. You do want monsters. That is a pretty common strategy. Fabio asked, are we going to see holographic cards or something like that? We are not in the first set. We are looking at holographics for future sets. First set, there will be some full art cards and some other different alternate printings, like we have Duotone. If you remember old Munchkin, original Munchkin, way back 2001, 15 years ago, the original Munchkin set was actually not in color. It was in what's called Duotone or sepia, so it looked like brownish, vanilla looking. It just like brown. It was like brown, and it wasn't black and white. But it was like brown and yellow, and that's we did some alternate versions of rares like that. So no fulls in the first set. Maybe in the future though. And I'll try to like your comments as I answer them. So if you see it get liked, that means I should have said something about it. Oh, excuse me. And right now they're still in the drafting portion for those of you just joining us. Not a ton to comment on right now from this distance. It's really hard to tell what people are drafting, especially since these are all kind of new cards for most people. General strategy, if you have drafted before in other collectible card games or are, know how to play the basics of this game but don't know about drafting, you're really going for monsters, especially cheaper monsters or things in the middle of the curve. So I'd say the curve would be like 3 to 5 range. You want some stronger beaters too. You want some loot to defend yourself, but you can mix your strategy up. So I've done drafts where I've drafted a bunch of cheap monsters that are really fast, that are don't cost a lot of gold, not just send them at people. Does a lot of damage really fast, but as soon as your opponent once they get a couple pieces of loot into play, like a weapon to defend themselves or a piece of armor, that strategy kind of stops a bit, so you need some guys to finish them off. You can also go Mischief Heavy. I know Sam, one of the developers, he's walking by the test, so I'm going to point at him and comment about him. He likes Mischiefs and bleeding effects. Things that attach, he's nodding, yes. You can attach things to heroes and make them bleed out. He tried to do that before. He was semi-successful. How big is the draft pod? Right now we've got 8 people. That's what we kind of recommend is 8. 8 out of a case. So you can draft 4 packs per person. And right now we got a full 8. Of course, this is a pre-release product. These aren't actual boosters, but yeah, it's 8 people, 4 packs each. And they are using the Goldfish Wanderer, which comes in our organized play kits. Randy Schuteman, one of the other developers, has pulled up a seat very close to me. Way too close.
Uncomfortably close.
He's very close. It's not great. How's it going, Randy?
It's going well. Seems like they're having a lot of fun with this.
Good. I got a lot of questions coming in. We've got about 13 people watching right now. Our first draft this morning had about 2,000 views on it.
What kind of questions are you getting?
Just a little variety of stuff. Some people were wondering when it comes out. Some people were wondering how the draft works. Like we just had someone ask how big the draft pod was, if we had hollows in the deck, things like that. So got a variety of stuff coming in, actually.
We draft with 4 packs instead of 3. This could be done with 3, but if you build a 30-card deck out of 36 cards, you're only pulling out 6, so your deck is kind of what you got.
Yeah, not a lot of choices there.
No, and it could be done. It may be a way to do it. I don't know if people will prefer that, but I preferred the 48. Leaving out the extra cards gave me it let me put in, how do I say it? Rather than having to put in bad cards, I got to only put in good cards, and I had to take some cards I otherwise would have wanted to put in and set them off on the side.
It gives you deck building options.
Right.
To me, if we were drafting with three packs, that would give us only 6 cards left over.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, we know the 6 worst cards, and then I'm also playing with 6, probably 10 bad cards in there too.
You've kind of pushed into a corner with it.
Exactly. We do have a question come in. Jason just asked, do we have a card rarity breakdown for boosters yet? So just as far as boosters go themselves, there's 1 rare, there's 3 uncommons.
Yes.
And then there's, what does that give us?
8.
6? 8? Okay.
There's
8
8
commons, 3 uncommons, 1 rare. Now the rare slot, that's an interesting one though. So there are different rarities other than just rare. So we do have regular rare cards, which is, your normal, you're guaranteed to get a rare every pack. But there's higher rarities than that as well. There's some of the fun ones, like we destroyed most of these.
Very rares.
And
then some other collector cards.
Yeah.
Like alternate art and things like that.
One thing with this game, though, is it's not meant to be, you need to buy all the rarest cards to win. It's almost inversely from what I've noticed. Some of the rarer cards are just kind of cool cards.
The packs were it's not meant to be a pay-to-win game. The concept is something that isn't original to me, but it was something we've read other places. Rarity, and so something that's uncommon or rare is just going to be more likely to be a little bit confusing. Its obvious purpose isn't as obvious.
It's got a more specific strategy to it, maybe.
Or it's just a lot of reading and a lot of, it doesn't work in normal circumstances, so you shouldn't use it all the time, or you need to be careful when you use it. And if a card is very straightforward, it's more likely to be common.
Yeah, just like a monster. You'll notice a lot of the guys in the starter set, like a Vanilla Elemental, which is like a 4 cost for 4 damage, stuff like that.
So you might get a common that seems, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be all of similar value. The rarity is complication.
Some of the strongest cards that you're going to find, like especially in the starter set decks, when you're trying to knock out opposing loot, Ferrous Oxide Monster, one of my favorites. It can be very powerful, especially late game when they get a lot of big loot into play. they commit a big loot to you, overpay for a Ferris Oxide, make it look like it's something very big, and they send out a Hammer Time, and suddenly, bam, Hammer Time's gone.
You definitely need to be thinking about item removal, loot removal in this,
Big time.
as well as just how am I going to do the damage. Loot is very strong in this, but so are curses.
Yep.
The bleeding, getting either a bleeding cut on you or being unable to use your hero because you're taking damage every time you zap it. The curses and things that are stuck to you are really, really harsh.
Yeah, I definitely undervalued loot removal and things like that going into the first draft we did. I accidentally drafted a compost just like it came to me. I was like, oh, I guess I'll take that. It ended up being the best card in that deck. It was like, compost your sword, compost your hammers.
Well, especially if they guess right and you just need to clear the path for the guy.
Yeah. Definitely.
We got a couple here.
Yep, so we got Jason again with another question. 4-pack draft, 2 left, 2 right. Yep, that's exactly right. And is it all boosters? Technically, yes. Do players add their own class card? Yes, kind of.
So for the draft, we couldn't really, at this point, print up a whole bunch of class cards for people to pick. There are 6 different core classes. It was easier to make one neutral class and print a bunch of that and put that out there. Eventually, over time, there'll be class cards that are just available, like something to fill a deck with in other CCGs. But we just made one hero, and in these decks, there's no other heroes that could be drafted. But theoretically, another hero could get drafted if you were playing at your local store. Mm-hmm. So you could just play with that hero and you're slightly different than everybody else.
Slightly, but the fun thing with that is you still get to draft cards from it. Even if you draft a hero, you still can use cards from any class. So
yes, in this.
Yeah, exactly. I will say the Goldfish Wander, one thing that we didn't really cover on our first draft is spilling. Spilling is when you lose all the cards in your deck, and you will lose the game that way.
Well, the spill ability is if you got hit with something that said spill 1, you would take the top card of your draw pile and flip it over and put it face up in your discard pile. If you ever have to draw a card and there are no cards to draw, you lose. So spilling is far more viable in a 30-card deck than a 40-card deck. So the Goldfish Wanderer, the zap ability on the Goldfish Wanderer is to put a face-up card from your discard pile face down on the bottom of your library, or your deck, not your library. You put it face down on the bottom of the deck, and
it can kind of prevent you from spilling out.
It helps slow that down.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a mitigation.
So you're giving up that ability in the other ones.
Yeah, which could be good. Fabio asks, comparing with Pokemon, another collectible card game, we get secret rares. I have played Pokemon. I do know what you're talking about. We don't have secret rares planned for this, not in the same way. It's essentially over-numbered cards. Pretty much you'll have 304 cards in the set, and the collector number is going to go from 1 to 304.
There may be a promo card.
Yes, there may be a promo card.
It will have its number. We don't have a fraction, so there won't be 304 of 304. This set will have just the one solid number on the bottom, and the cards are numbered.
Yeah, so cards are numbered. There's 304 of them. It will go through. What's up?
Australia.
Oh, yeah. Hey, shout out to Philip in Australia. Yeah, it will be...
I don't know.
It'll be going to distribution. So you'll definitely check with your local store. Use our pre-order forms. Let them know you're interested. And make sure they know to order it.
It's easier in English. I know that it's far more plausible that they got a hold of something we printed. Some of the foreign languages, they have to actually make a deal to do the translation and print it up, and I'm not involved with a lot of those deals.
Yeah, right now we're focused on the English release, but there are other people interested. Mike, who was here for the first stream, has got a few. Is there going to be a booster box? Yes, like with other collectible card games, you would be able to buy the box. It's 24 packs to a box, so it'll be under $100.
Yeah, the two products are the booster box and the starter decks. The core starter decks are 3 different sets of 2.
Yep.
So each of the 6 classes has a pairing with somebody else, and once you buy one of those one times, you really aren't going to want to buy that again, because you've got all those cards. It's preset. It's getting you all the materials as well. You want to buy one of those at least one time, because it's going to get you the hero card, it's going to get you the level counter, it's going to get you the tokens, it's going to get you the die, it's going to get you the runaway tokens. It's got everything you need to play. But you will definitely want to be delving into the boosters after that. If you want to continue, you could buy the starter decks and play it just as a 2-player game. That's totally possible.
And how many cards will be in the booster packs? Our booster packs will have 12 cards. 1 rare, 3 uncommons, 8 commons.
I don't remember where the other, like, the higher rarities slot in. I don't know.
They'll be, so based on what I've been looking at, there's going to be some that slot in on the rare slot, and then some will slot in over one of the uncommon slots. So there might be a pack where you have multiple of a cool type of card. So Sam and Randy are also commenting on the loud noises coming from the Super Kitty Bug Slap table. That is another game they worked on.
You can hear the slapping, that thumping in the background. That's people slapping.
Literally slapping the table.
Slapping the cards on the table.
That was actually louder when we went to GTS Game Day. They had us put a towel down to play Super Kitty Bug Slap to censor it because it was so loud that Ultra Pro was getting annoyed with us.
Well, I know the guys from Ultra Pro.
So
they're decent.
They're
decent folks, but I like to give
awesome.
them a hard time. So.
Yeah, we were kind of giving them a hard time, to be fair. That was our fault.
It was after their bedtime, I guess. I don't know.
Is there a way to get a rare to the back of the card? Is there a trick that will go to the booster pack? Not exactly. I know what you're saying as far as, like, if you're trying to unbox it on air. We actually haven't got any live product yet, so I don't know exactly how it's going to be once we open a pack. What I'd assume is the rare will probably be at the back, but if there's another rare slot in the uncommons, like a special card that covers up an uncommon, there wouldn't be a really good trick to that, I don't believe. What he's referring to is like when a lot of, like, I have friends that unbox other collectible card games on YouTube and whatnot. There's a trick that you have to do to get one of the cards to the back, like the actual rest of the last card that you reveal is the rare.
Because you want to
be dramatic, or some people that just open at home want to be dramatic,
right?
But I think ours will probably be at the back. We'll have to see honestly, we'll have to see live product before we have that answer for you. Sorry about that.
I'm going to be working to get the 12 cards in the pack.
Yeah, we're working on the first step of that. Will decks allow multiple copies of cards in either standard or draft? So in standard decks, so you can have 3 copies.
Same for both.
It's the same for both now? Okay, cool.
Same for both.
So you can have 3 copies of any given card in your standard or draft deck. 40 card decks in standard, 30 card in draft. 12 in a booster pack. That's a great value. Thank you. Yeah, Phil, that's the goal. We want to make it an easy entry point with the starter decks. $20 gets you 2 full decks, and then booster packs give you a lot of cool content. 12 cards for $4 is pretty good.
The starter decks are a great jumping on point. They really are, for what you're getting, a decent value. They're not overpriced.
Oh yeah, they actually come with in the first printing, at least they're going to be coming with a free booster pack in each starter deck.
That's the plan. Later printings, I don't know.
So the deck size is 40 cards for a constructed deck. For a draft deck, it's 30 cards.
And the difference there is the constructed will only be cards of your hero's class type. So if you're a warrior, it will only be warrior cards and neutral cards. Mm-hmm. You can't have other heroes cards in it. For a draft, it'll be 30 cards, but you can put in any cards you want as long as there aren't more than 3 of them in the deck. Yeah,
the draft rules, you have to be a little more loosey-goosey because there's so many different types. So lets you be a little more flexible. Lets you do some interesting combos that you wouldn't normally get to do.
There's some just crazy shenanigans that can go down with
Yeah, absolutely. But that's kind of the fun of drafting, I think. You get some crazy stuff. Looking forward to it. Philip commented, looking for a way to play 2v2. If you come up with one, post it online. Let us know. That's actually kind of cool. Variants, things like that are always fun. We like to see what the fans are doing with the game. I know a lot of, like, when you talk about collectible card games, I've played Magic for years. I've played Pokemon for years. I currently play lots of games. It's fun to see what fan formats come out, and sometimes those fan formats inspire real things. Like, I remember Two-Headed Giant was a classic Magic the Gathering format.
Draft is a fan.
Yeah, I think Draft was originally a fan-created thing. I think probably around that first Gen Con that Magic came out, Draft was the thing that people did because they wanted to do something with all those packs.
I don't think they did early.
They didn't do it that early?
I remember opening packs in like 97, and the concept, at least where I was playing wasn't a thing. Like, you didn't think about draft like that. It wasn't until much later where draft was like, okay, you're going to open this and you're going to give everyone else these other cards. Like, that concept didn't catch on when
immediately.
I could be wrong. They may have done it at the very first outset, but that wasn't true as far as I remember. I'd have to look that one up. It's a nice little piece of
yeah, it's a little history. Jason, comment: are cards in the starter replicated boosters? Yes, they are. The only card that's not is the hero card. The hero card is specific to that deck. There will be heroes in the boosters, but the art will be a little bit different for them.
So the way the art is drawn in these, every specific hero, so all of the Bard cards are drawn by the same artist. For the first set, all the Bard heroes are drawn by the same artist, so you'll have that same artistic theme across the Bard deck. The neutral cards were all done by John Kovalik. So if you have the neutral cards, they will all have a very similar look to them. There's mostly commons in the starter decks. As we said before, the common, uncommon, rare splits are more about complication of the card. So you will see a lot of very simplistic ideas in the starter decks. We want you to be able to get in without being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So the first cards you see in a starter deck are going to be relatively simple cards. I believe
useful. I believe
there's a rare and mostly uncommons. You shouldn't be buying those to search for rares. It's a bad way to do business. It's not going to be cost effective.
But it is good for getting into the game, and there are a lot of staples I think that are going to be in those starter decks.
Oh yes,
you'll have the guys like the one I mentioned before, the Ferrous Oxide Monster's a really good card.
Your Ferrous Oxide Monsters and your Lame Goblins.
Ooh, they're hot.
Getting a hold of that zero-cost guy who can run out and punch somebody is big.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like you talking like that.
Sorry, this is the answer.
Make Andrew write that down.
Quick shout out to Kevin Wilson, one of the original designers on it. He's been retweeting us online and trying to get people to watch the stream. Thank you.
Check out Kevin's other stuff. I've seen
done some amazing stuff.
A few of his other pieces of work.
Descent: Journeys in the Dark, one of my favorite dungeon
crawls. Watch how a creator, whether they be the designer or developer, changes over time, because it's an art form. So his work is gonna change, and the previous successes and failures affect the next project you do.
Absolutely.
And even if it's a success or failure in like who you worked with, where no, I always wanted to do this, but I couldn't, so now I'm gonna try it because I'm working with this other group or whatnot.
Yeah, it's kind of fine-tuning over the years. Mike commented, after the game is released, you guys think about doing tournaments, leagues, and such. So it actually is launching with Organized Play. We're going to have Organized Play kits. You're actually seeing part of the kit right here because that Goldfish Wanderer card comes with our Organized Play kit that retailers will be getting.
That is the current plan.
That is the current plan.
I believe they have to go through, they talk to your retailers, they'll get the detail about how they have
retailers here got a lot of the details, but we'll send it to them. Yep.
Warehouse 23, if they buy a
yes.
case, shows that they bought a case, they get one, we send it to them, or they can just get one for $5.
Pretty much directly from us.
$5.
Retailers will be able to get the Organized Play kits, which are going to have prizes for you for playing. It's going to have those heroes for drafting with. So let your game store know. Also, if they're on our newsletter, they'll get all this information automatically. People here at our Retailer Appreciation Day are getting that info as well. So keep an eye out for that. So we're kind of like running tournaments through your local game store. Let your game store know you're interested. If they get an Organized Play kit, then they'll be running tournaments from there on. No limitations aside from 3 copies. That's for Fabio asked that. Yep, it's just 3 copies of any card other than the hero card.
Because the hero card's not really in your deck.
Yeah, the hero card's off to the side.
You would have a 40-card deck, and then off to the side 1 hero card. You may not have more than 1 card, more than 1 hero card, things like that. You shouldn't. If any card needs to be restricted on where it is in play, I would prefer rather than tell you, hey, only put 1 of these in your deck. I would prefer to limit what happens when you put it in play after 1 has already been in play. It makes it easier to do the paperwork after the fact, and someone doesn't need to know what you have in your deck to know that you're playing it correctly than if you can just bookkeep by staring at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Then we got
Yep, and really big shout out to Kevin who came in and just said thanks for the shout out. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you. Mike, so what I'm linking to in the comments here, this is going to be our store finder, which is a link to, this is a resource that we use for any retailer that wants to be a part of it. It's a way to find local stores, game stores in your area. If you already have a game store, that's awesome. Just let them know. I actually linked the pre-order form in the description of this video. You can find it. It says you can pre-order the CCG at your local GameStop. Just let them know. It will be available through distribution, which is essentially retailers can buy it from any distributor that is carrying it. So theoretically, any store should be able to get this. You just need to let them know that you want this.
Yeah.
Effectively. You want to pre-order. Pre-orders help your store know how much they want to order, so you won't miss out.
No store wants to wind up ordering too much and not being able to sell it.
But they definitely don't want to order too little. So if you
Right.
let them know ahead of time,
If you say, look, this is realistically, I'm gonna be in here, and then follow through. For Pete's sake, when you say I'll be in to buy three packs of this, and you go somewhere else to buy the 3 packs, you're kind of hamstringing them the next time. They can't use that information. But that store finder is curated as well. A lot of store finders will have stores that have gone out of business or stores that have moved and their information's inaccurate. The store finder we use it keeps itself up to date as much as possible. It'll send out emails asking the stores if this is still their correct information. And after a long enough time of them saying, either not responding or when they get back to us and say, no, we've changed addresses, it updates. We update it right away. And then we've got someone on staff who does look through and contact that. Those stores in that store finder are the ones we're most likely to reach out to when we have something to give away or we have something to promote. We want to look. We find them in that area because we know they carry our stuff. They know who we are.
cool. Just sharing this one more place on my own Facebook page. Forgot to do that.
A little bit of shameless self-promotion there. Honey.
Yes, my own Facebook. Yes, my personal. I love to shamelessly promote. Let me just type this.
Brings in the big cash. Huh?
Yeah, me. Part 2. Actually ran my very first ad on my own Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, decided to translate my abilities into myself, but it was for a charity that I'm doing work with.
I do not Facebook.
Yep.
You are experiencing the extent of my Facebook right now.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Munchkin CCG.
Let's get a thank you to Hunter here. He's done a great job as our social media guy. Anytime you're seeing this stuff, whether it's Twitter or even the connections we're doing on Steam now, anytime you're seeing this stuff, that's Hunter reaching out and talking to everybody.
Thank you for the shout. I appreciate that. This has been a blast, honestly. I love doing this. Sometimes it's tougher than others, but this has been a really fun stream.
I wish we had $1 million so we could
do them all the
do
time,
well.
right?
We could have a camera on every person playing, and
we have a Twitch channel dedicated to Facebook Live or Twitch thing going on.
Go to
all
Twitch.
the time.
Steve Jackson Games Twitch A, Steve Jackson Games Twitch B.
So-
Looks like they're reading through. You want to go to this other one and get to this exciting part in the match.
And then Randy's playing an Overwatch on this.
Playing Overwatch poorly.
It's like we're in the midst of pack. I believe we're on pack 3. Is this pack 3?
And you got to realize there are no like easy cards in these packs. You'll open up some others and you'll have your resource cards that you can pretty much just skip because you know what it already says. There's none of that in here, so they can't skip these cards. They have to look at every one. There's a reason they're taking so long. There's a lot going on in a pack of these. Right, and it's the first time. There is no spoiler list that I know of hanging around out there where...
Hey, you could be the first to collate it, folks. Fans, if you're getting good screenshots from this, get on the internet and make millions of clicks.
Something, I don't know.
Make lots of clicks. Oh. So, I guess...
You will notice, if you look very closely at these, that some of them have Sharpie written on them. They are not finished product. We feel that it's better when we can put it in people's hands, that it's not construction paper as often as possible.
And these look really nice.
They look really nice, and they're really close to what it'll be. But there are some very subtle differences, like giant Sharpie marks and.
Yeah, you may notice that.
Some of the wordings, do not take the wording if you can somehow read the wording on these cards. Some of them will have changed.
Yeah, just a couple of them.
It's
actually pretty close, honestly.
It's
There's a couple.
really close.
Beelzebub has a couple of
Beelzebub, and then a bunch of locations.
Yeah, the
will have
locations
very
are modified a little bit, but so yeah, I mean, some small things, but and thank you guys for agreeing that I rock. That's awesome to hear. Also, quick shout out. I keep shouting people out, but the arms you see in frame here that are actually playing, this is Guardian Games from Portland, Oregon. So thank them for hanging out.
I think I've been up to their store. I did a cross-country tour a couple of years ago. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, you told me about
7
this.
years ago now.
Yeah. A couple, 7. You know,
7, yeah. It's not a couple anymore.
You got to drive to all the stores and, like, play games, right?
I flew around the country one time. Wow. I drove around the country twice. Whew. And I went up there, and they made...
And there's part of arms over there. Shout out to everybody.
I stopped by. They.
Yeah.
You know what, Matt? They made me. All the stores I went to, for the most part, made me feel. Very welcome. Occasionally, you get somebody who, the other guy didn't remember to tell everybody that I was coming in. But even then, once they realized I was there, they're like, "Oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
How do we help you?"
That's awesome. Did Randy after PAX? Yep, that was. Yeah, that was a cool trip. I haven't actually been to their store, but I've heard about it because I have friends up in Seattle and Portland area. So
I've been to so many. It is so great to see these stores. Whenever I think about somebody opening up a game store, before I did those tours, I was looking for like the secret recipe. Like, what do people have? And honestly, what I found is there is no secret recipe. Like, there are things you need to do as the industry changes. I think that it's hard to fight online sales. You have to be offering community in your stores to bring people. You've got to give them something that a random person shoveling games into a bag in their garage can't. If it's community, I can go down there and I know this is where I want to be. And while I can pay $2 less for this $30 game, they're not going to give me a chair at their table to play.
Exactly.
Ever.
Buy where you play. That's what I always say.
I really do. Yeah. But I thought, you have to have parking close to the building. You have to have, a X amount of game space. You got to. No, it's not. I've seen game stores with no parking. I saw crazy stuff, and it was the communities, the what people made out of them that was really positive.
I absolutely agree on that one. That's why I appreciate everyone that's actually come down to see this, to hang out. It's cool to, like, we're just a game company in Austin, man. They have to drive all over the place to get to us, or fly here to get to it.
Some of them flew.
Yeah, it's had to fly. It's pretty great.
Granted, they fly me into hurricanes to demo this.
That is true. If you had the benefit of seeing Randy's attempt over at Peach State, we flew him in.
Yeah, the day before they closed down all the airports in Orlando for the last hurricane, I flew in, showed off the game, and then flew out the day they were closing it, and that was crazy. I am glad that more people weren't hurt, and we came out of that as well, and I'm really sad for everything that's gone on in Puerto Rico and how much they're still hurting.
Yeah, also take a look for that. I believe it was Play for Puerto Rico was a thing that our friends down there actually.
Anything you can do. They have had amazingly few deaths for how just horrible things happen there.
Let's see, we got a few more questions here. Michael Gushu, so what's all this then? This is the Munchkin collectible card game. It is a collectible card game set in the Munchkin universe. So for people that are showing up, because people are going to be cycling through.
That was William. Let's be fair. Michael didn't.
Sorry, that was William. You're right. Sorry. So it's about taking your hero and trying to kill the other hero, get them down to 20 life, or get them from 20 to 0.
Getting them 20 damage. Your life
do 20
actually
damage.
Stays the same.
That's true.
Is there a card list?
Not yet. We do have plans for some stuff in the future, though. We'll see.
I believe our website is still in its infancy for this.
Yes, but that website looks spiffy, so
Jimmy Bragdon did a lot of the work on that with some very unforgiving taskmasters. So he did wonderful for us with that. There will, to my knowledge, especially once it's established, there will be deck lists, not deck lists, but card lists.
Yeah, we would like to get
available
some
on
card
that
lists
website.
on that. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, another question: are there any store drops in NYC? I don't think so. I don't. Complete Strategist didn't show up.
I doubt
this
they
year.
will because we're going to be going to PAX Unplugged up in the Philadelphia area. So I believe Complete Strategist will be meeting us there.
Yeah,
we do
also,
a lot with them.
We actually just they just ran the retail section at New York City Comic Con for us. They were our retail partners there,
Right.
and we had our volunteers with them.
And then we'll have PAX East coming up.
Oh yeah, we'll see them,
too long.
but not they usually don't make it down here. But I can understand that that's a long
No, they
way.
don't. What would they come for? PAX South? I mean, I love that show, but the big names haven't really come out to support that as much.
Not yet.
It's a very indie show, that one. That's
It's a
kind
really
of what
good
I
show.
love about that.
I love
is
that show.
That the small companies get a bigger stage because
Yep.
all the other guys don't want to show up, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good show. Dimitri, thank you for that information. I actually just fixed that link to last week's stream, so that should be good to go. For those of you joining me, it looks like we've got more viewers than the last stream. We are in the midst of the last pack of the draft. Actually, I think, are we in the last pack, or are we actually...
let me look.
Yeah, we're in the last pack. So,
Not in the midst. You're at the cutting edge of it.
so we're at the we're at the bleeding edge of the last pack here. Draft.
She got in her hand. It's one of Explodious fingers, I can tell.
Yep, I can see the Explodious
Let's
finger.
see. Oh, that is a Smog. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you guys are listening, I will totally read out what's in her hand. Let's see. Irresistible Disco.
I haven't even seen that card.
Huh?
even
Irresistible
seen-
Disco is a Bard card.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing the YMCA at the bottom. It's this awesome piece of art. The art on these is really great. It's very
That's
colorful. There's a lot of each of the artists did their own take on it, and then a lot of work went into coloring it. It looks very different from what you would think of as a Munchkin piece of art. Even when we've colored Munchkin art, this has more shading, more depth, more everything.
Yeah, and that's not to take away
Dynamites.
from... Oh, yeah, I love that one. And that's not to take away from Munchkin cards, because there's a ton of people that love Munchkin card for the art, but the art on Munchkin, I would say, is definitely more of the comic or cartoony variety.
Yes.
You have it very much like, here's the art, there's not a lot of
Bertha.
background to it. And this one, I think the big difference that people are going to notice is that these cards all have backgrounds. And that's something we don't do in cards usually.
The backgrounds aren't always. If you look at reseeding rifle, there's a drop there.
Did you see the Vampire Cat? Vampire
Yeah, I
Cat's
saw
one of my favorites.
If you look at the reseeding rifle, we haven't done that type of background very much, where it's a solid color splash background. There's usually a lot more detail in the background, and I suspect once the art specs get more, we'll have more depth to the art specs. You'll see a lot more things like that.
Mike had a question. How many cards can you play on one turn? Are there cards that you have to wait until next turn? No, there's no cards. There's no limit technically to how many you can play. The only limits you have are you can only play one. You can only have one location in play.
Each player
Each
may
player
only
can have
have
one location
in play at a time.
Yeah, you can only have one. Each player can only have one ally in play.
Incorrect.
That's
not correct.
Is it 2 allies?
No, there's no.
There's no limit on allies?
There was a point you were remembering. You're remembering.
Sorry.
Old gouge there. There was a point where that was true, but allies, when you hire an ally, they stay in play.
Gotcha.
You do that during your Munchkining phase. You can have out as many allies as you can afford, but allies are a defensive thing for the most part.
Yeah.
Which means that every piece of defense you're paying for is one less monster or
That
a
you're gonna be able
smaller
to
monster
hire.
that you're hiring to throw at your enemy.
So I'm incorrect on that. Sorry about that. So it's really just locations are the only one that's a hard limit on that. The other difference is, so for loot, you can't have higher loot than you have levels.
So that can be misconstrued. So if your level is 3, the total of all of the star values on the loot cards, the ranks, cannot be over
Yeah.
3.
You have
so you
to
could
add
have
it up.
3 1s, you could have a 2 and a 1, a 3, or a 3 and 2 zeros.
Yeah,
But
the total level can't
Right.
go over your level, essentially, your total rank. But as far as actually playing cards on your turn, the real limit is how many cards you have in your hand.
And you can wind up with a lot. There are other games where card drawing is king. Card drawing is strong in this, but because of the way monsters especially are stashed after they're played, and you get them back next turn, you essentially
Theoretically,
redraw
if you
them.
don't get killed.
If they're not killed, you'll redraw them next turn. that lessens, in my opinion, the strength of card drawing. It's still strong, but it isn't super powerful. Gold, in my opinion, is king here.
That's fair. But yeah, gold. The reason gold matters so much is because that's really the limit of how many cards you can play. You're assigning golds to those face down cards and hiring your monsters. So until you run out of gold, you're always threatening to play stuff out of your hand.
There's always something more, and especially since you can attack with something that isn't even a monster. Like, I can put a piece of loot down face down, and if I can make you believe that it's something that will do enough damage to you, I can make you run away from it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Bluffing. That's why bluffing is so important.
Bluffing is strong. That mechanic that Eric Lang and Kevin put into this is great.
It makes it unique. That's one of the big things that I've always mentioned is, so in Munchkin proper, backstabbing is the thing. It's teaming up and backstabbing. You can't replicate that in two players, so they didn't even try. They just said, instead of backstabbing, it's bluffing. And it turns out, when you bluff someone out of their shoes, it feels just as bad as when you backstab them.
And you don't even say it. When you put down something just absurd, like a location that could do no damage, and you get them to run away or limp away and take 2 damage because they really believed that was the problem card in your deck, it feels great. Unfortunately, when they go, let's see it, and you have to show them that you put the stupidest card in your hand down.
It feels bad.
And take a damage for it. And they're like, all right, what other card? And then you can't even use that
card.
And
then they run away from the next thing.
Is there a win condition when you deck out? Yes. If you have to draw a card and you cannot, you lose.
Yes, and there are cards that do what's called spilling, which we mentioned earlier.
I don't know. I have to look at the wording on spill to make sure. But spill, I believe in itself, should cause you to be a victim if you need to spill a card and there's no card to spill. I have to look at the wording. If it doesn't say it already, then we need to look at that. But it should already say it. Yeah. Because spill isn't drawing a card technically. You never actually draw it, but that's what we have to look at. Yes. If it does not say it specifically, I will make it say it specifically.
So, drawing is moving a card
to your hand.
to your hand. Spilling is moving a card to this pile. If you have to move a card from your hand, that's
Well, that may be the words that need to be written in the explicits.
Well, we have 2 developers talking about the rules. No big deal.
I've seen. There's so much. When you're behind the scenes on any project, whether it's making a game or getting something published or manufactured or whatever, or like a concert, getting a concert put on, you see so much of what I would call the sausage being made that you just aren't as huge into some of it, and you talk in weird sentences. We have a lot of in-house terms for some of these cards. They just have friendly nicknames that we refer to it when we talk to each other.
Another question about deck size. From how many cards in a deck? You can have 40 cards in a regular standard constructed deck. In these draft decks, you're building a 30-card deck, and you can have 3 copies of any one card.
So constructed is 40. Maximum card copy count is 3. Draft is 30 cards. And it isn't maximum or minimum. You must have 30 cards, not counting your 1 hero card. And that 3-card limit is still
in effect. 3 cards. 3 cards is universal. Our play set is 3 cards in this game.
And this is the draft rules we've produced here. I don't know if this is what people will love to play. If they find something that they love more,
feel free.
And we're willing to listen.
I love it. I personally have enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, when
Any thoughts on sealed as well? You could. The thing with sealed is you'd need more packs, I think, to make. I guess you don't really have to.
You have to change the format and what the deck construction is.
Yeah.
You might say you might break it down by classes, so it might be the starting class box. If I just had to guess, and they said, "Hey, in 20 minutes we're going to run one. What do you have to do for it?" I would say that you would include the warrior and the ranger together as one of the decks. So any warrior and ranger cards could be thrown together, and then you go with the other two starter decks and combine those two sets. And then sealed would work a little better because you need to widen the pool of cards available in any given pack to make it viable.
So so as you can see, we don't really have a plan for sealed. Draft was our focus, but
I could wing
it's
it.
theoretical.
I could wing it.
Theoretical. As always, if you come up with something that you like, let us know, because we are always listening.
Well,
Looks like most of the time
I
we're
sleep.
listening. We're
Our
always
social
listening.
media guy is always listening.
I'm always listening.
His
Me
phone
personally,
dings
Hunter
in
is
the middle
always
of the night and
listening.
he pops up.
If you comment, I'm forced to see it somehow.
Sleeps like a dainty angel.
It's yes, and he's roomed with me, so he knows.
Man,
Looks
you
like we're in
smell.
deck construction time. Let's see what we got.
Oh, let's watch your hand. Let's see what you did.
Let's do a more live version of this. So we've got.
Ooh, she's curving.
I like the curve.
You gotta.
Oh man, that is some cheap stuff.
cheap.
Oh, let's see a Franz. Is that a
can't
Hans or a
go-
Franz?
Can't tell. She covered it too fast. She's got to
Got some
land.
locations.
Bumbles.
Bumbles
He's
is
trouble.
good. I like Bumbles a lot.
You gotta include a couple of big dudes.
So that's what I was finding. So what I was actually mentioning this before when we were doing. Was our last? It might have been our second
Gazebo,
last
he's
draft.
good.
So when we did that last draft where I had that Weenie Rush deck with a bunch of small small monsters, and it worked really, really well until I hit. Was it you?
Yeah.
You had that. You had like two weapons. In
I had a
play.
loot pile, and you
and I just couldn't get past it.
A good loot pile, and when it's fun to think you can just push your way through, but the loot's going to stay in play unless you destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wiping out these monsters faster than they can appear. Just got an RNGesus.
RNGesus came in big in
Franz.
the last draft we watched on here. He hit 6.
Oh, he hits the 6s.
Yeah,
She's got healthy amount of allies too. It's good
that's
stuff.
a good mix.
Honest Owls.
Is that a crush? No, is that? I think it's Null Heart. No, wait, no, that.
It's Pawn Shop.
Oh, I know what that is.
Belt Buckler Full Art.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Belt Buckler Full Art is good. And there's a couple of these that we toned down.
Yeah, and if you look in the bottom right, or I guess bottom center there, that top card, that's a full art. So what you guys were asking about what kind of like foils, whatever. We don't have foils in the first step. We do have full art, so you can see a lot more of the actual art on the card itself.
Well, it's at least in a different style. And,
Yeah,
and,
exactly. So yeah, let's see what they come up with. I'm gonna
The
refresh
duotone.
the comments real quick just to see if you guys have asked anything else. How can I submit an idea for card? We're not actually taking submissions right now. As far as card ideas, but if you share yours on social media, we might see it. You never know. Tag us at SJ Games on
Oh, yeah, the
forums.
forums.
We're pretty much loaded through until season 2.
Yeah, so
The entire launch year is already kind of.
yeah, so for the first few sets, it's pretty much all developed. But if you have an idea, we will have forums live on our sjgames.com/forums.
I am not too proud.
Oh, no. Yeah, we will take it. That was not to say we will not take ideas. Right now, we don't have a way to really submit it, but when the forum's open, we'll definitely have a card submission. It'll probably be like a card idea forum rather than like, here's your official submissions. Yeah. It'll probably just be like a cool card place.
We would ever take official submissions, but if we see an idea on the forum, we'll give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll credit the creator, things like that.
I've seen it in the past with Munchkin when we've taken cards.
Yeah, we've had some good ideas from Munchkin fans in the past. It's definitely not out of the. Yeah, absolutely. So let's pull it up here again on the live.
All right.
Ooh, guys, I'm finding those barbarians.
She's got
solid.
a boatload of locations. Since you can only have one in play at a time, and some of the last
As far as
ditch.
locations, yeah.
Yeah, you can only have one in play at a time. You gotta kind of focus on your locations.
I like this curve over here happening though. It's a crusty, disgusting.
Yeah,
like,
she's
card
got some
chart.
very utility stuff. I can see
There's a bunch of
Bajit,
Sasquatch.
my friend Bajit there.
Bajit.
Yeah, he's Bajit, Barbarian the Librarian. Land War Elves over here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. You know what's real funny is you talk about locations and what locations you like to play. I'm very simple. I like land.
Land's good. Land just...
It's just good. It's not too good. It's just good.
The trick of locations is they give their bonuses and detriments to both players. So even if you don't have one out, mine will affect both of us. That is Inhumane Society.
That's a good one.
That is so good that it had to be altered slightly because there was a trick you could do that needed to go away because it was abusive. Woodland Workout.
Was it Beelzebub making infinite money or something?
No, you put it out, use it on your turn, and throw it away. And that's not the spirit of that card. Those cards are supposed to be... the other player should get at least one turn using it.
Yeah, that's fair, actually. That's annoying.
Because locations and loot, due to the restrictions you have on having them in play, we needed a way to get them out of play. So if you want to leave a location you're in, you can zap it and squish it during your munchkining phase, and then it goes to the discard pile. It's gone, but you are outside of that location. If ever a location had a zap ability, which I do not plan on, then if you had already used that ability in a turn, you would not be able to zap it and squish it, so you couldn't get the use out of it and still get rid of it before someone else could.
I got you.
Same thing with loot, and loot does have some zap abilities on them. So you can either zap and squish loot to make it go away to put in a bigger piece of loot or a different piece of loot, or use the loot.
Gotcha.
You can't do
That
both.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's Fabio. To answer your second question first, I know out of order. Locations we must discard one to play another. Yeah, you have to zap and squish it, which means essentially
at the very least,
discarding it.
yeah, you can't have two in play at the same time.
Exactly.
Any given player cannot have two in play at the same time.
Exactly. So the other question, one thing can't really get stash card. There it is. So a stashed face-up monster can be killed while stashed. Yes. So that's the fun thing with the stash. So once you've used a monster, hired a monster, and actually seen it, it goes to your stash face-up. And then from there, you can still be targeted with cards that let you target in the stash.
They're still in play.
Zorch. Zorch is a very good example. It's a 1-cost mischief spell, and it lets you do 2 damage to a monster.
Warrior hero ability can hit it.
Hits it,
Lots of things can kill him there. The only way for a face-up card to get to the stash is for it to be a monster right now, and it has to have passed through the combat zone and gotten, they have to have said, let's see that card. They've seen it, it's hit them, or hit them for nothing, or was blocked, or whatever, but it did whatever it was going to do. It finished its combat, and then it's sitting on the side. All face-down cards are just cards. You
can't do damage to those, things like that. But you can do damage to face-up monsters.
Right.
And the other thing is, if it's not killed, it's healed all damage and return to hand. Yep, as soon as you flip it face down to return it to your hand, all the monster's damage goes away. It's back fresh.
But they have those
just
tokens. Those tokens sit on it for that whole turn, the opponent's turn.
Yep. Until it goes back to the hand, it's got all that damage on it.
Right. So it's how you get rid of a lot of people's monsters. If you're facing the ranger, he tends to keep his monsters
because he can regenerate.
He's got a regenerative-like ability. It isn't called regenerate, but his hero ability functions very, very, very similar to regenerate.
There's also the bard. I'm finding really fun, tricky ways of doing that whenever a monster's going to the stash.
Oh yeah,
the bard can be brutal.
The bard's got that trick because the bard it works for mischief cards too.
Yep.
If your mischief cards would otherwise go to the stash, with Encore, one of the bard's key abilities, the mischief card you could actually play it twice in a turn.
One of my favorite plays is doing a huge 5-drop or something like that, like a 3,000 orcs, and then hit them with it, and then return it to my hand with the bard's ability, and then put another card face down that's worth a lot of gold, and then they run away from that one, and that was the bluff card.
What kind of money are you sitting on that you could throw 10 gold at 2 monsters in a turn?
If you get an Inhumane Society in the land or a land on each side, man, you can get a lot of cash.
Inhumane Society in the land would put that at about 8. You can do some tricky stuff.
The big trick that usually happens is I'll put a 5 down. It's the actual thing. They'll run away from it, so I'll get my gold back, and I'll return it to my hand, and then I'll bluff them again, and then I'll put the real one down.
Bard's sneaky. You can only... That running away gets expensive.
It does.
Losing 2 life when you're lipping.
I mean, you get to the point at the end of the game where you just cannot run away. I've gotten to so many points where it's I have to take this because I will die. If I limp away.
If you limp away too much early, As with any of these games, it's only the last damage that matters.
Yes.
But when you throw it all away before then, that last one shows up pretty quick.
I mean, it matters. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
When you only have 20 life to work with.
Starstruck. Flame Goblin.
I like that. I like that we have a curve of Flame Goblin into Gazebo here, and then we got is Bumbles, and Bumbles is in there too.
Bumbles is in there. He's
Bumbles
real cheap.
is in the mix.
Dynamites is in there.
I think that's 4 1-drops, 3 2-drops. That's like good. That's good.
Yeah,
mix.
she's got some Hairy Scary Bear. She's
Hairy
got some
Scary's
fatter
good.
stuff up here too. That's real good. I haven't
I
seen
think
an
the top end is
Explodius.
pretty good.
The Explodia win I haven't seen, but her fingers are still real good. The monsters that make up the 5 that you could do, you can do a lot of stuff with them. Anti-cheating, discard stuff.
Yeah.
Budget.
So we played.
Budget didn't make the
You might not have seen it last week, but we did a Wizard versus Bard. Me and Ariel played on air.
Ariel and I.
Me and Ariel.
All right.
Played on air. A Wizard versus Bard starter deck, and I played Danger Zone.
Oh.
That thing can be very good, but man, you do not want to play that against a wizard. Apparently, she was getting to use that more than I was.
There's a certain point with your locations where you're sure the opponent will get more value out of it, and that's the time to toss it away.
So that was my
It's gotta
thing.
go.
I was like, I think I can do this. I think it'll work. And then I played it and immediately regretted it. She was making gold every time, and then she played the 2 costs that let her draw 2 cards for giving blood.
Yeah,
And then also gained a gold off of it. So she made it cheaper and then gained a gold. She played it for free.
plus there's probably a Zorch or 2 hiding in a wizard deck. Yeah, there's a Zorch in that deck.
Yes, there
do
is.
attacks cost a certain amount, and then does each card have a HP number? You'll see the little heart down in the bottom right corner of heroes, allies, and monsters. Those guys have that life. When they take damage equal to or exceeding that life, like it builds up that much, they are squished. A hero loses the game if it goes over.
And as far as the cost, that'll be in the top left-hand corner in gold.
And monsters have a gold cost, allies have a gold cost, and mischiefs have a gold cost.
Yes. You can overpay for monsters when you play them face down and bluff. As a matter of fact, some monsters, I think I mentioned this in the last stream, like a lot of the warrior monsters get better if you overpay for them.
You get an additional bonus. The field armor, it does it, and the
Pain Train.
Pain Train does
Pain
it.
Train gets real good if you overpay for it, actually.
There's a couple that are really good, and a lot of times you just didn't have something to spend that other gold on, and it would be more valuable if they limped away and took 2 damage.
Yep.
Better that they didn't see it at all, you know.
Pretty much. Pain Train's a good one. The Armor is a good one.
Field armor you get a lot out of because you get that card draw when you overpay.
One of my favorite overpay cards is in Bard. Once again, I keep coming back to Bard. But Freebird, it costs
Freebird's
0.
dumb.
Freebird's one of my favorite cards because it costs 0. It's a 0/1, so it has 0. It does 0 damage and it only has 1 life. But when you reveal it, so if someone doesn't run away from it or something, you get all your gold back that you committed to it.
Freebird
So
makes you feel so mad.
it's a
when
great
you're
bluffing card.
When you guess that they're full of it, and then it walks across and it's Freebird, and their punishment is nothing.
Nothing. They get nothing.
Like,
I love Freebird. Freebird's my favorite. It's a great bluffing card because you'll be like, I'll put 6 gold on it, and they're like, well, I run away from it. And then you put your real 6 cost out, and they can't do anything about it. Or you'll put, even better, this is the most fun. I put 6 gold on it. They flip it, they see it, and they're like, "Oh no, they've committed a weapon or something." And then maybe they run away from the real 6 drop or something like that. Then next turn I reverse it. I'll just put the real 6 out first. They're like, "Well, here comes Freebird," and I'm like, "Oh, here comes this."
It's keep mixing up what you're doing,
It's so
not
good.
falling into a pattern. I've played against some people who will not cheat when they play it. They will not put out a card that isn't a monster, and I'm like,
I will
need
say
that
I will
mileage.
say this. You technically don't have to bluff in this game, but if you want to win, you should be bluffing.
It's unless your opponent just can read you. If your opponent just has the read on you, you're in trouble anyway. But it's good.
Yeah. Thank you for all the questions, guys. I really appreciate it. We have a lot of activity on this post. It looks like we're starting to get into it a little bit here.
Getting into some of it,
Yeah.
I suspect. She'll be back shortly.
Yeah, I believe the.
She constructed her deck. She's just out. It's just laying out there,
Yeah.
angsty. So they've seen the start of it, right? Where the first player, both players will roll the die.
Yes.
Whoever gets the higher roll gets to choose who will go first and who will go second. The first player gets 1 gold. The second player gets 2.
Yep.
The thought process behind that is the second player has no defenses when the first player swings in. So the
Having a little extra gold to work with. Helps
having a little bit to swing back just a little harder should offset that first.
What's the rule about shuffling cards? No real specific rule. I think it's just a normal shuffle. Don't cheat.
Yeah, I know how to position mark cards, especially what we're doing here today. I'm not worried about it because you'll notice
Tournament rules. You give your opponent a chance to cut your deck, and
you give them a
the normal
shuffle.
stuff.
As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
I prefer the goldfish shuffle, just because it's
Piles and all that. Or?
Yeah, well, no, goldfish. It's go fish when you were kids.
Oh yeah, I got
you. Make it into the one big pool and you shuffle it all together. It's a really good way to initially randomize a set before you do a couple of riffle shuffles. You'll see it in Vegas when they break the new packs open first thing in the morning. Not that you should be at the gambling tables first thing in the morning in Vegas.
You have a problem if you're
but
there.
if you were, I happen to work in a casino for a while, so I've seen it a number of times.
Let's see where we're at here. Looks like our opponent still hasn't shown back up. Oh, there she comes.
She's coming back. She's just building up the anticipation. That and the
You can't
cookies
hear it on the other
are
side of the
delicious.
mic since this mic is so good at not picking up outside voice. But she came into the Hulk Hogan theme song. She is.
It's a lie.
She is a real American. No, it's not. It's real and it's happening right now.
She also has a Hulk Hogan mustache on.
She also has Randy Savage is with her. He came back to life. He is here. No, I can't. I'm going to get sued now by everyone, all the wrestling federations and
That was
championships.
an interesting character.
Here we go. I think we're getting going.
All right, now let's
see what we got here.
So they have the opportunity right off the bat. You are allowed 1 mulligan. You look at your cards and decide, do I want it? Is this the hand I want?
Oh, it looks like I think they kept. I think they both kept.
Well, yeah, she at least kept.
Yep, and she's
Either that or
level
they-
1, so
Sam,
she's got the...
it is possible Sam did not mention the mulligan,
That's
in which
fine.
case they would not know. So the first thing they should have done was run through that warm-up sequence, which should have brought a 7th card into her hand. I didn't see whether she did or not.
We
All right,
will see.
she claims that's a monster with a cost of at least 1. When you put down a monster, you got to put it down, face down, put any gold you're going to put out there. You can't, what I would call it is fishing. You can't like put it down and slowly trickle gold on it until you think they don't believe it or they do believe it. Oh, we are. I can see the cards in your hand occasionally.
That's actually perfect, because she can't see them, but we can.
You've got nothing to defend.
So Mike, the way a mulligan works is it's not a certain card thing. You can just decide that you don't want to keep your starting hand. You draw 6 to start the game. You can decide if you want to keep all 6 or if you want to mulligan all 6. You can either, if you mulligan, you shuffle them back in your deck and draw 6 new cards. That's how a mulligan works. Randy is explaining a couple of things there in the demo. He is more qualified for that. Feel free to ask any questions in the meantime here. Fabio says you can pay 0 card for a 0 monster. That's actually ideal, yes. Some monsters will cost 0 gold, yes. And you can pay 0 gold from like the Lame Goblin, which is 0. It does 2 damage and has 1 life, but whenever it's revealed, so whenever it's flip face up, you take 1 damage. So the person playing the monster. Randy's kind of guiding them through the first couple turns here. As with any game, a lot of stuff going on. Ask it another way. You're allowed to put a face down card without spinning gold. Yes, you are. That absolutely. You can put any card face down from your hand and put any amount of gold on it from 0 to whatever, however much gold you have. Some monsters do cost 0, like the Lame Goblin.
Blandy
McBlanderson. He has 0 damage and 2 health. He's there just pretty much as a bluff.
He's a great
machine.
bluff.
He's a
Freebird 0.
Freebird is technically 0, but usually you'll put more gold on him. In the same way that in that same vein of that question, you can actually overpay for monsters. Again, we mentioned it before. So for the purpose of cheating or for some reason, you do. If you flip a monster and you haven't paid enough for the monster, then it is still cheating, and it will not.
Yes.
The monster does not work. So if you
tried to pay one for
something that costs
Plutonium
more.
Dragon or a Decagorgon, if you cheated and then tried to use Decagorgon, you have to pay the full amount to get the ability off.
Or at least whatever the full amount would be with, like, if there's a location
there's modifiers,
that fixed cheaper,
there's
stuff
other
like that.
things.
But whatever it would cost, you have to pay that much to put them into.
If you put less, you are cheating. So the 2 questions you ask are, is it a monster, and did I pay at least enough?
Pretty much.
If you pay more than enough, he takes the money and runs. He's happy with it.
Let's go to the live. There we go. So back to this.
This cattle prod she's using, it's a weapon she's using in an offensive manner because it's the ability of the cattle prod. After her monsters are getting through, then she's able to boost them oh so slightly with it.
That's right. It comes back to your hand. That's exactly right. Exactly. And then you draw. That is not your draw. Yeah, you get a regular draw as well.
That is simply unstashing.
Yep.
Technically, you take the face up and put them face down, and then pick up all the face down cards, put them back in your hand. But you don't need to do that when it's one card. Everybody sees it, and you're right.
It's mainly to help whoever it is out.
It is. There are mechanics that someday will need to function off of things, and that is how that works.
So we've got a 2.
Does have a Franz. That is what that is. I
Is
cheated.
that a 0
in
cost?
Chopsticks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
0
Chopsticks is 0.
Sorry, I got a little close to the mic there. Sorry about that.
So,
Yes.
so the key with 0 cost, you got to be very careful with something costing 0. There has to be some other payment, some other cost, or some other detriment. Otherwise, you just play all 0s and you're
There's no point.
winners.
The discount cudgel is a good example.
Discount cudgel,
I remember the discount cudgel in testing was very, very strong, and it got toned down significantly.
Yeah, I got involved. Chopsticks is very similar to the discount cudgel in that it's got a die roll and it might break. And one of them you actually have to succeed. The other is just when you commit it, I believe.
So, Mike, a question: can you attack the player directly without having nothing on the board? Yeah, if they don't have any loot or anything like that. But the thing is, if they have nothing on the board, they can still run away.
Right, you're always swinging at their face. You're never attacking anything other than the other player.
Yes, you're always attacking the player. They just determine if they want to put a
things in the
weapon or put an ally in the way of the monster.
Running away it's often a very good strategy to do. You can only do it for free once a turn, and there's a good reason to do it for free.
It's very, very good. Running away is never a bad option. Unless it is, and you're getting bluffed.
Running away is a bad option when it wasn't something you needed to run away from, and then you don't have it anymore. Losing that ability is... having to pay 2 damage to run away is
limping away is a problem. So we got a monster coming down. Looks like it's no gold.
It's gonna be a Blandy.
There's a no gold.
We've already seen
it's
Blandy again.
And we know that cattle prod can boost Blandy to a damage, so there's no disadvantage. I like it. I like the play.
It is 1.
It's 1, but 1 builds up.
It's I hear there's 20 of them before the game is over. They're there.
But
you can't just run away from everything either. Eventually you've got to take your cost. And this may be a sign that she doesn't have a lot of very strong monsters.
Also true.
Plus, she's using that cattle prod. There's Blandy.
There it is, and there's the cattle
she's
prod.
using that cattle prod on offense. One of the key things to do is you've got to be sending stuff back at her where she needs to be worried about that being on defense.
Mm-hmm.
The chopsticks will hold up, but they're not permanent.
They might fall apart.
They're likely to fall apart on her.
So just so everyone knows what chopsticks. First off, that is a full art. Another good-looking art card there with you can see a lot more of the art. But
Lynn Peralta's art.
Yeah, that is actually Lynn Peralta. That's actually Lara de Souza. Lara de Souza did that one. And it has a chance whenever it's used, it might actually get squished. So something to keep in mind. It's not necessarily a permanent weapon. Fabio asked, I know that weapons do damage before a monster. Is the same for allies? Allies actually don't do damage. Allies only have health. They don't have a damage on them.
There are currently no allies with a damage stat.
Currently no allies with damage.
They only have health. Allies are special in that if you add an ally to a fight, they will take all of the damage no matter how much it is.
So it's a bit of a trade-off. So in the case of a weapon, weapons will do damage and block some, but if they don't kill the monster, then you might still take some damage over the top. With the allies, you're just not going to take any damage. So to counteract that, they don't deal damage themselves.
They sometimes have abilities, things like that. Usually, if an ally has an ability, it's about when that ally dies, or it's about that ally zapping to do it.
Or like in case of Barbarian the Librarian, whenever you squish a monster, you get to draw a card.
And that's really uncommon for allies.
It is.
For the most part with allies, you are making a decision whether to use it for defense or to use its ability. And an ally being able to
do both.
If somebody's coming in for 8 damage and you can put a little 1 health ally in the way and it soaks up all 8 and you take 0, that's great.
So what does it mean when a card is turned sideways, offense or defense? It actually doesn't have to do with offense or defense at all. It's mostly defense. But it doesn't determine if it's offense or defense. So like when they send a monster in and she zaps something commits something to combat.
When a card is straight up and down, it is unzapped. When it is sideways, it is zapped. That 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
What that means for most things is you're only allowed to do that once per turn. You got to wait until your next turn when they will unzap. Everything at the beginning of your turn unzaps. Then you'll be able to use it again on that turn.
Exactly.
It is a number of uses per turn. It is simply a bookkeeping method.
Yeah. So on the right-hand side of your screen, the cattle prod was already used, and that was used. That one can be used offensively or defensively, which is why I said it's not necessarily offense or defense specific. You can use it however you can use it. It's
your hero abilities are like that.
Exactly.
They haven't really done anything with their Goldfish Wanderers, but they may not have. They may not have had a lot of cards that have gone to the discard pile.
Pretty much.
To need them. You shouldn't see monsters in the stash as zapped. Monsters going anywhere don't zap currently for any reason.
Do you roll yet, or is it after the...
It'll depend on they got it. It's going to be...
Okay, Sam's going.
Sam's going to clear in here. I believe what it is the chopsticks actually has to hit the guy.
That's what I thought.
Chopsticks, I believe, have to do damage, but I'm not sure.
Ooh,
Bumbles.
not the one you want to hit. So can you tell them how Bumbles works?
Oof. Bumbles is tricky. No, because I remember how he used to work.
Oh, that's
and
true.
he works way different.
Let me get a heads up from Sam.
Let me take a look.
Or you can take a look, yeah.
So, So Bumbles, he used to be just infuriating. Now Bumbles, when you do manage to squish him, you wind up spilling 2, which isn't the end of the world, but it just isn't good. You don't want to do that too much.
Fabio, so an 8 HP ally can soak 8 1-damage attacks? Yeah, technically yes. There's not. I don't think there's an 8 HP, but yeah.
There isn't.
In your example, yes.
An 8 HP ally, you would have to, because he would have to, the 8 HP ally would have to zap to get into 8 fights.
Yeah.
It's unlikely it would happen, but it could soak up technically 7 1-damage attacks and 1 50-damage attack.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
The last one's going to kill it. But I think the highest right now is one of the thief's allies.
Is there a 4?
There's a 4. I believe it's a 4. It might be a 5. But you got to pay a gold to commit it to a fight.
Yeah, he's expensive.
Right, but I mean, you're going to get to use him more than once.
It's true, potentially.
Look at him.
God. Just double check and make sure the old video doesn't have any more comments on it that I missed. Nope, looks good. Cool.
You have so many tabs open on your computer.
That is behind the scenes. Yes, I have about 25 tabs.
You're that person.
I mean, those are all work related, so yes.
Sure.
It's all stuff I need.
You need a file folder to put all the tabs in.
What are we sitting at? So we got
Tabbed of tabs.
we have 3 damage on the right side and 2 damage on the left.
It's pretty even so far.
Not a lot of loot and play, but a very strong piece right now for an early game at least. A little bonus extra damage here and there. It's going to start mattering. Although she has taken less damage than our person on the left. But we have another piece down that is the Boots of Butt Kicking, I believe. And that's one of those duotone cards.
They are very good.
I thought the boots were not that great, and then I started using them. I'm digging them.
There are a lot of cards like that I felt weren't that strong. And then after use, I quickly learned that we super
feel
duper.
better than they...
We super duper.
What does the die roll mean? So it depends on what the card is. In the case of the one that just happened, that was for chopsticks. If you notice, she does not have chopsticks in play anymore. That's because she rolled poorly on chopsticks and they got squished.
So 0 cost items especially, part of their cost is that they don't always function repeatedly. The chopsticks themselves may have gone out for 0 and you may get 1 use out of them, but they have a chance. I believe it's either a 33% chance or it's a 50% chance
usually
to be destroyed. They'll get squished after you use them.
Let's see. So we had a 2 cost. Did it get run away from or
no? The runaway tokens still face up.
So I think they just changed. They
There's
decided
some shenanigans going down here.
I think they just changed their mind.
I don't know what kind of hate just happened there, but it went off screen. It's cool. Look like crushing it.
No, I think it's a Bard card. Oh, is that trombones? I love trombones. So trombone is now attached to our person on the left here. So that is going to be every time her hero zaps,
she takes the damage.
Okay, so she can't use that Goldfish Wanderer's ability anymore.
If she uses it, she takes the damage.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a curse card.
It would not necessarily be prudent to use that ability.
You better really want it. So she's more likely to have fall victim to spill. The Goldfish Wanderer's main help in this set is you only have 30 cards, so being able to put some back on the bottom of your deck keeps you from getting decked.
To explain what Rainey's saying, I didn't mention that. Goldfish Wanderer does have an ability like all the other characters. His is Zap, and you can put a card from your discard pile at the bottom of your deck. So, keeps you alive a little bit longer.
Keeps
you from decking yourself
30 card deck slightly bigger. It's a virtual size increase to your deck.
So, let's see. So, we got tromboned. Can't play a ton of cards, but we got something. It's a 1 cost. There's nothing in play. Nothing in play. Have they run away? Oh, they did run away this turn.
She's run away once.
She could limp away, but she'd take 2 damage.
And it's debatable.
That's debatable.
Yeah, depending on what it is. Once you look at it,
It's Blandy.
it's
for one.
Blandy's only going to do one, though.
Yeah.
So it's better that you accept that fate than take two mysteriously.
The cattle-prodded office worker.
Blandy, I like Blandy.
Blandy's one
But
of my
Blandy
favorites.
McBlanderson is, he doesn't do a whole lot by himself. He is great in decks with where you have to show monsters. He's great in early game when you can just kind of bluff other stuff. He is great if you have a lame goblin and you're trying to convince him to block one and not the other, or to throw an ally out there, or anything. You make them pay for what they've done. Blandy's great at a lot of the background work, but he himself, alone in a vacuum, he's meh.
He's good. He's a good
guy.
bluffer. I'm a big fan of him. Let's see what we can get going here. Okay.
That's a card.
That's some gold. That's some gold.
3. All right, that's prudent.
That's a
Now,
runaway. Okay.
now, if you can manage to have done that with, let's say, a location or something that just was nothing, then she just got the runaway token off the table for nothing. I have no idea what that card is, but
Maybe it is.
it could have been
nothing.
Could have been nothing. Granted, it could have also been a monster, and you were going to hit her with it, so she made the right choice.
It's a tough decision.
There aren't a lot of players at this table who know that answer.
Oh.
Well, it's happening again. So, do I take 2? Because I have no defense. Remember, she's been using her loot there in offensive capabilities.
Yes, which is not necessarily
It's
a bad
fine.
thing, but it creates moments like this.
Let's see it.
It is a gazebo. An
that's a
overpaid
Zebo.
for a gazebo. I like it. It's a little bit of a trick.
A lot of times that'll be a sign that you don't have much else to throw at her.
Yeah. Kinda scary.
If the other person had a location in play, that gazebo would have been even bigger. And
But that puts her at 5 damage now.
I believe
She's
it was
quarter of the way there.
gazebo's a 2/3. If she'd had a location, it turns into a 4/3.
Yeah, it becomes pretty monstrous.
That's a lot of front end.
Deck out is a lose condition, Fabio. Yes.
Yes.
If you cannot draw, you lose the game.
The 3 ways for you to win the game is for your opponent to take equal to or greater than their health in damage built up over time. That's first and foremost the primary one.
Yeah.
Or if they need to draw a card from their deck and there is not a card to draw. Or if they simply quit. That's the third
Did you really have to name 3? 1 for concession?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. If you quit, you lose. That's the game. Look, we tried to cover all the edges. Can't always do it, but it's a win. And the worst part is if you don't write it. Oh, she's got.
Oh, don't forget your runaway token. What do we got there? Is that the...
Did you refresh your runaway token? Did you draw your card?
She did. She got that.
All right.
I got that. Is that the Unfair Grounds?
Let me see. I don't know what that one is. Offhand.
Can't tell.
Most of the art I can see from this distance.
Yeah, I can't tell what that one is offhand. We will find out.
Wow, let's go spy.
Go spot. I think it's a location though.
Looks like it.
Oh, here we go. Randy's checking on that with his spying abilities. So got 3 gold.
That's one I don't see very often. That's a pity party.
Ah.
So a pity party says if you don't have any allies in play, you get to draw a card. So she has a card out helping her with card draw, and as soon as they put allies into play, it will hurt the card draw.
What level are you at?
What's it?
What level are you at? She should be at 4. She should have 1 less gold. I was noticing that. I think I think the count just got off. No big deal. Sorry, just one of the people was on the wrong level there. We caught it. They are just going through a quick rules thing there. Thank you guys again for sticking with us and hanging out and asking all these questions. This is kind of what we wanted to do it for, was answer a bunch of questions and just have some fun with it. A lot of people obviously have not seen the game before, so this is a great place to do it. It's a great place to learn more about it. Just gonna share this. There we go. Once he's finished clearing that up, we're going to have a monster with 3 gold on it out here, too.
So that is Michelle and Angel.
Michelle and Angel, cool.
Angel's on the right, Michelle's on the left.
Okay, cool. So I can stop calling them.
Yeah, lefty and righty.
Yes. Is there going to be holiday themes? Not in the plans currently.
I can't say there won't be Halloween or something sneaking up in a card or something, but I don't think
I'd love to see some holiday stuff, but this isn't Munchkin where we have like a 15 card pack that we can just put out and that can be just that theme. This is, we have to design 100 cards at a time, 300 cards, 200 cards at a time. So designing that much around one particular holiday or something isn't really
It gets
something.
pretty stale. And
It gets, the jokes don't really stay with us there. And it gets kind of, it could get boring for some people because not everyone's into holidays as much as other people. I know I'm huge into them.
Well, and they're regional too, right? If we make this game here and someone in Mexico plays it, someone in Australia plays it, someone in Germany plays it, not every holiday is celebrated everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So a joke that falls flat for a high percentage of your viewers is meh. Okay.
So what they're clearing up right now is Krusty Disgusting there. He's a 3 for 4 damage monster, so he's already doing 4 damage, which is cool. But also when he's revealed, he does 1 damage to every monster in their opponent's stash. So as you can see, the gazebo over on the left here took 1 damage. And then the face down card is not technically a monster, even if it technically is. It's face down, so it doesn't matter.
A face down card, either in your
deck.
a face down card anywhere is out of play. It hasn't left the game, but it's not in play. Mm-hmm. So a face down card in your deck is just a face down card. A face down card in your stash is just a face down card. From your opponent's perspective, the cards in your hand are just cards. The only time a card is more than that is when it's either in play or when you're staring at the face of it. So if you have to show your opponent your cards and then they pick a monster card, then they are monster cards because everybody can see them. When they're face down and you're seeing the back, it is otherwise.
What is that?
Which one?
Is that a succophant?
A pygmy succophant?
I think so. Liposuction. So we got our first example of liposuction, I think. So we're going to have someone taking damage, but then also healing. So this is our first healing that we've seen on stream.
Yes, and that's liposuction. She pumped it up with the cattle prod.
Ooh,
to get
good
2
move.
damage, 2 health. So
the swing is strong with that one. I
the
like
net
it.
of 4.
So right now we've got 9 damage.
It is very lopsided against Michelle here. She's gonna have to.
It's fine. The comeback. What we meant to say was the comeback is happening now.
I said all the words I meant. It is looking rough here. But you'll notice when you look at the 2 board states too, Michelle doesn't have anything to throw in the way. There's nothing to get in the way of her enemies.
It's just depending on running away.
Whereas Angel's got multiple.
That damage will go away when it comes back.
The versatility of the loot cards. It's one resource she's just not taking advantage of right now.
That is Sam's 5th hand there.
Sam's only got 2 hand, to be fair.
You haven't seen him recently. He had some work done.
He's right there. I can spot him.
Some work done. Let's see if we can hear. This is I will say, she has lots of cards. She has a lot of options.
But you'll notice no blue stars up in those corners, and right now that's what's really hurting her. Oh, she's got one.
Ooh, you might need
So
that.
I know what that is. That is
That
a
is a
bullwhip. So a bullwhip is a monstrous card. And a monstrous card, I'm trying not to speak so that Angel can hear, but a monstrous card, when you play it, it'll be something other than a monster at its core. But when it's put into combat, if you've paid enough for it, it just is a monster. It counts as a monster with a value and a strength and a damage and a health.
One of my favorite ones that's monstrous is Elvish Impersonator.
Oh my gosh, it's a great card.
Because it's a 3-cost monster. It essentially is a 3 for 3 damage and 3 health monster. Or you can play it as its regular Mischief card, which is 3 for 3 damage to a monster.
Right.
And that's strong.
So
You should know the king just told me he squirreled a leech.
you squirrel the leech?
Is that a new
You can't squirrel a
catchphrase?
leech.
Squirreled the leech.
You gotta squirrel a moose. So all of Monstrous, the numbers are flat there. It is actually a worse value than you would have if you got a monster regular price, like a regular
Usually,
monster.
yeah.
But the cost difference is about the versatility. Sometimes you don't need another piece of loot. You need a monster to swing at their face. So that's great when you can, like, I don't need this bullwhip to do that. It's going to be a monster. Go in, go in, go in. But occasionally, like as now, you need loot. So put
Yes.
it out. Sam, I believe, should be coaching her in that direction.
We'll see.
She may ignore it. That's her right. She can do that. $3 gold. It is a really good idea to run from 3 gold unless you know they're just lying to you. Let's see what she's saying here. And her boots of butt kicking aren't going to do any good
On defense,
on
at
defense.
least.
They're a piece of armor.
They're not bad. They just don't
They're
have defense.
They are
value.
fine. They're just not going to stop any damage by themselves. They're going to do damage after the fact.
Ooh, here's the runaway.
She takes the
So
runaway. That's a
first
good
runaway.
spot on it.
Now, before they move on, I'm curious. What does the pity party do again?
So the pity party is if you have no allies out during your reckoning step, you can draw a card.
Ooh, that's really good.
It can be really good. It's putting more cards in your hand, and if you need to find, let's say you need some loot, it's a great way to find it, especially if you built a deck.
Ooh,
with
here
no
comes
allies in
three.
it.
3 costs. Let's see what we got. This could be the turn that swings, actually, because her loot's been committed. And what do we have?
Ooh,
Oh,
it's bronze.
it's an overpaid Franz. Isn't that stronger, or is that just regular?
I forget.
Oh, wait, no, he's the bigger one. Yeah, never mind.
He is, I believe, the meat.
You need the other.
Still some damage. Doesn't.
He's got monstrous numbers. He's 3 for 3/3.
Yeah, he's good.
Got to move that gold out of the way because it's been paid for. And she does. The screen just hasn't caught up.
Will playmats have things that give you boosts? No, this is not going to be Munchkin style where you have a promo and like a rule on every card or like on every promo item, things like that. We want this to be accessible, and with Munchkin promos, the way Munchkin, I mean, there will be promos for this game.
There'll
but
be
the way,
cards.
but they'll be easy to find.
If a playmat is a promotional item, then it is just simply
A playmat.
a playmat to play on.
Yeah, you're not going to be having to search eBay or something for like some rare promo that only came out at a convention to
It can
play
be-
with.
We'd
or-
rather not do that to people.
No. It's just not in a collectible format like this. It's just not what we want to do.
Well, that's changed here.
That has changed. Yeah, that was a saying. Because since that cattle prod was used and the boots of butt kicking weren't much help, the gazebo and Franz got their. And now she has a location, so that gazebo's strong.
That gazebo got pumped, right?
It's strong. Yep, that's 6. That's
It's
a 6
7,
swing.
so it's
Oh, 7, yeah, it's 7 swing. That one
Looks
stacked
like
up.
7 and 9. Still. I gotta go ask.
Randy is giving some tips. Hot strategy tips from Randy. He is backseat gaming so hard right now. Randy, the backseat gamer. Oh, got some natural light coming through. Nice. You gonna play their game for them too, Randy?
Nope. But I don't want someone who's new not to understand how the game is played.
I just thought it was funny because you're like, do whatever you want, but I hate it.
Yeah, but I want you to know you make me sick. No, they're playing just fine, and she's got plans.
She's stabilized for sure. 7 to 9 is not that far off. Ooh, 11-foot poles down. Some real defense.
The
now,
the elven foot pole, yeah. That is just very bland, but it's a nice, solid.
It's numbers.
It's
getting numbers out and just preventing one damage a turn.
It stops the stupid game. It stops the little 0-1s, the 1-2-1s. There's a couple of like a drop bear runs afoul of the 11-foot pole. I mean, one damage is something to put on the board.
I'll lose a ferrous oxide monster to that. I'm good with that. I feel like it's done its job if I get that far.
And for 1 rank, I mean, you can pretty much play it on any given turn that you draw it. And
doesn't
change
get much
the board
better
state.
than that.
It's great. Chainsaw Bloody Dismemberment has that damage on it, and that can do a big thing. Well, that's the thing. I'm going to have to go.
Cool.
But
thanks for joining us on the stream.
Oh, thanks for having me. Anytime.
Love to do it again.
We'll see ya.
So, guys, just back to me. Thanks for thank you to Randy for joining us there. Great co-color commentator. To answer your question, Fabio, currently every hero has 20 health. In the future, that might not be the case, but currently all of them have the same amount of health. And as you can see, we have some natural lighting coming through. Good timing. What's up? Oh, sure. We have Andrew Hackard here, Munchkin Czar.
I'm completely unable to watch what's going on, so we're just going to talk.
Sure, yeah, it's fine. We got a monster coming down, and I actually can't tell what that one is exactly.
It may not be a monster.
No, it looks like a monster. I just can't tell what it is. It's not one I've seen before. Used car dealer. Okay, maybe that's. So we're at 16 right now. 16 to 7. That is. It's not looking.
That's what we call a butt kicking.
Hey, boots of butt kicking right there.
See, there you go.
Folks at home can't see my screen. I don't know why I said that. Like you could see it. It's not.
Yeah, boots of butt kicking right there.
Right there as I
pause
point
the
to my
stream and find it. Do not pause the stream.
Do not pause the stream. You're good.
Do we have any questions pending?
Nothing pending. Kept up to date pretty much. We'll see if anything else comes through.
Well, I feel like my presence is wasted, Hunter.
I'm so sorry. I didn't plan for it. I didn't plan well enough. I'm a fool. We got once this game's over, that'll be the end of the stream. But thanks for guys for joining us today. Looks like we're getting close here.
Yeah, thank you. This is our Retailer Appreciation Day. So those of you out there who are retailers, make sure you read our retailer newsletter and come next year. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, it's a really fun event. You get pretty much hang out all day, play games.
We feed you.
And we feed you. And the food was really good.
It was really good. I'm taking a plate home for dinner.
Smart. Dang. I should have thought of that.
Well, you can't have mine. It's labeled Andrew's dinner.
I've eaten Andrew's other food before. It's
That's
fine.
fair.
He did owe me dinner that one time, so I'm gonna get another one from you.
I don't think so.
Oh, it'll happen.
I'm not going to rule it out, actually.
Actually, I'm not gonna say never. Oh, we finally have the bullwhip. It looks like it's in play. That's good. Got some defense. Let's see what else. Maybe get
So
some
we've been
damage.
teasing 2018 releases. We probably shouldn't. We've only announced a couple.
Kind of been teasing. I did share some pictures. We had the Munchkin Magical Mess.
That is the return
Poster.
of Moop
That is the
from Moop's
return.
Monster Mashup.
He's back. That's one of the ones that Andrew's been working really hard on. But one of many you've been working really hard
it's
on.
100 and some odd more stupid jokes. It's kind of my
that's,
wheelhouse at this point.
I think that's Munchkin. I think you just described Munchkin. 100 some
I
odd
mean, stupid.
more
even,
stupid jokes.
Stupid even for Munchkin.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's pretty groan-inducing, but it's pretty great.
We announced the February blister pack, right?
We have not yet.
We have
You wanna
not
link it here?
announced that. We have not announced the Lynn Peralta one. I thought we announced that one.
We leaked it.
So
I guess it wasn't.
Well,
I guess it wasn't the. It should be in this month's announcements. Let me
Yeah.
double check.
I'm thinking that we could say it puts the it in lit.
Yeah, the post should be coming out this week for it. But you know what? Why don't you just say it?
Yeah, are you gonna? Am I stepping on your toes if
No,
I do a
please.
pre-announcement?
Go for it.
So
New Munchkin set announced right here.
Yep, 15 card mini expansion illustrated by Lynn Peralta, designed by me. Munchkin Clowns for all of your out of season scary needs.
Yes, it's gonna be. Honestly, it's already creeped me out.
It's a creepy set. It really is. So I'm glad we got Lynn for it because Lynn does creepy super, super well. And Hunter right now is in the middle of saying, "Oh, I need to put this one in the queue."
I do. I forgot to type it up. Sometimes when you have a bunch of Kickstarters to do, sometimes things slip through the cracks.
Yep.
So that was me remembering I need to have that in there this week.
Anybody asking questions about Munchkin
Double
Clowns?
No hand limit, Fabio. Nothing about Munchkin Clowns here so far.
Well, that breaks my heart, but okay.
It's also on a slight delay, so maybe get it. So it looks like we've got some damage through. So we got down 13 to 16. It's at least close. And we got a couple pieces of loot in play, it looks like. Or no, loot in location. Never mind. That may not be as big a deal. I believe that's the unfair grounds.
I remember when my eyes were young enough that I could have seen these tiny little screens and been like, "Oh, it's like 16 to 9." So, what's the most important thing to tell them about the CCG we haven't told them yet?
Boy, we've covered a lot of bases over here. I guess the biggest thing is make sure you get your pre-orders in with your game store. I don't want to. I haven't emphasized that enough, I think, but the link is in the description of this the stream. Please let your game store know that you're interested, because they won't know to order it unless you tell them.
No, and they might not realize there's as much of a demand for it as it looks like there's going to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't want to sneak up on anybody.
We would hate for you to just assume it's going to be on shelves and show up and it's gone. So
We are. Say hello, Ariel.
hello, Ariel.
Say hello to the stream.
Hello, stream.
This is Ariel, our retail liaison. You've seen her in some of our CCG videos in the past. She was the wizard player that beat me as the bard player in the last video. She's been the pair of hands in all our demos.
Disembodied hands.
And she's running this awesome retail day,
Yep,
which is
she
awesome.
is.
She's been
She's our hand model, and
she is the reason for the season, as it were. Looks like we got the bullwhip taking out a monster there, so that's good.
that's what I like to see.
That needed to happen actually, because
So we talked about the schedule for this. The core release, the original CCG release, is in February.
Yep.
We have our first set of expansion cards, the Desolation of Blarg, in May. And then the second wave of expansion cards is called Fashion Furious, and that will be in August.
Yep.
There will be a third one in the fall. We have not announced the name yet, possibly because we haven't settled on it. Blarg is well underway, and Fashion Furious is being fashionably and furiously worked on right now.
it is.
In fact, that's one of the reasons Devin is not with us today, is he has to write more CCG cards.
He does. He's constantly writing cards now, which is good.
And what you guys can't see on the stream is Hunter checking his own Facebook account and trying to arrange game dates.
That is a real thing that I'm doing constantly. Oh, this could be. We're at that point where it could be it.
Yeah,
Oh, it's a 1. But if you let the 1 through, that's it.
That's game.
That was good.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is game on the
is the
stream. Thank you guys for watching, and please again, Hunter has not emphasized this enough, pre-order the CCG if you are at all interested. We're sending out organized play kits and incentives to stores for the initial releases. And
Let's let them run drafts just like the one you saw.
yeah, there's also, you can play right out of the starter set, or you can do constructed deck as well.
And just last bit of comment, what is this about, please? This is the Munchkin Collectible card game. Unfortunately, we're just about to end the stream, so what I'd recommend is check out some of our older videos.
Tough luck, James.
No, not tough luck, James. We have some older walkthroughs that I linked in the description. Check that out. You can also visit our website, which has some strategy articles and
that
some
is
more walkthroughs.
MunchkinCCG.game.
Yep, got that link there as well, so take a look there.
Mike, thank you for the great comment there. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate you guys watching. If you didn't watch, we wouldn't do them. So, guys, thank you for joining us. We're
That's
going to
not
sign.
actually necessarily true. I might do them even.
He might do it.
Yeah.
But guys, we'll see you next time on this Thursday at SJ Games Live. But for now, we're checking out from Retailer Appreciation Day. See you later.
See you guys.